Hi, and welcome to another episode of Estate Sale Items. We're going to be looking at some items, a group of items from a gentleman who had been a career U.S. Army officer. And let's take a look at what we found. This here was one of his jungle shirts from, he did 2 tours in Vietnam, the first one being in 1967 to 1968, and the second tour was from 1971 to 1972. We can see this one was from his second tour, and we can see that in both tours he was part of the Military Assistance Command Vietnam. And we see here he was spent most of his career with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and this was for the 65th Engineers out of Hawaii, and they were also stationed in Vietnam from 65 to 70. So I don't know, he might have brought this back from Vietnam, or it might have been when he was stationed in Hawaii. And this here, he was stationed in Taiwan for a few years. And we see here that a few of his medals. He was awarded Bronze Star, Army Commendation. And I think there's a misconception sometimes when people see like these medals and they think, well, those should be with the family. And most of the time at these estate sales, the family are the ones that are actually deciding what items to sell. So these are the items that they just decided for whatever reason not to keep. You know, it may be that there were a lot more items that were more personal to them, or whatever their reason. So this was the citation and certificate for that was for a Joint Service Commendation Medal. And we see that this one was from, like I said, his second tour. This one relates to October of 71 to November of 71. And this one here's a paper relating to the Legion of Merit, and that was when he was still stationed in Vietnam. You see that he had completed 12 weeks of language training in Vietnamese when he was in Saigon in 67. It's a United States Taiwan Defense Command certificate from 1964. Early in his career, this was a class photo for the Ranger class at Fort Benning in 1961. He's got an arrow pointing to himself there. And there's his certificate from completing the Airborne course, and a certificate completing the Ranger course. And we see here's a certificate of service from Military Assistance Command Vietnam. We also see you've got the Free World Military Assistance Forces. And here's the citation and certificate and photos of him receiving the Bronze Star. And we see down here again that it relates to the Republic of Vietnam, October of 67 to August of 68. And here were some of his insignia. You see that like this would be worn usually on uniform about like that, and that was the Vietnamese rank, because he was an advisor to the ARVN 25th Division Engineers. So they would wear something like that so that the Vietnamese soldiers could recognize what rank they were. And we see here a couple of versions of the Military Assistance Command Vietnam patch. A colored version and a subdued version. Got some Ranger tabs or Ranger arcs. U.S. Army tape, name tape, dog tag, just like on the certificate. This would be worn as like a pocket hanger, so go like that. And that was for the Free World Military Assistance Forces. So this was not worn just by the U.S., but also had been by, you know, people think about Vietnam, they think about just U.S. troops being there, but the, I believe it, up to 50,000 South Korean troops were sent to Vietnam. The Australians sent troops, New Zealand, I think Thailand for a while. So they would be the ones that would wear these. And this here is kind of the same thing, and again, a pocket hanger, but this would have been for the Army of Republic of Vietnam's 25th Division. Which, like I said, he was an advisor to the 25th Division's engineers. You can see a little, just a name tape there. And we got a couple of medals. This one, I couldn't find any photos online of a medal that matched up to this, but the ribbon looked like economic service. And on the back it just says Vietnam. And in this one, even though it's not Vietnam, this was in with his items. And this was for the annual encampment from 1891 for Grand Army of the Republic reunion relating to the Civil War. See on the back it just says in review. And let's see if I can get this thing open. Again, this was not Vietnam, but related, but it was in with his items. I don't know where he had received it at, but this was for the military labor service. And we see you got 3 different flags here plus the US, and this was Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And after World War II, a lot of since they had a lot of German troops that were being held, some for trial and some for further questioning, the U.S. forces got a lot of the personnel from these countries to help with the guarding of buildings and also working on rebuilding of things. And so this would have been like a hat badge that would have been worn by one of those people. So that's an interesting group of items. Like I said, this gentleman, when he eventually retired in the late 80s, he had reached the rank of colonel. So certainly a career officer. I said 2 tours in Vietnam. And like I said, interesting group of items to find. You'll never know what you'll find in the estate sale. And I appreciate you watching. Hope you'll check out some of the many other videos I've uploaded. And be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks.